Hey everybody, what's going on? Eric here, and you're looking at my Line 6 AMPLIFi 150. Now they also make a 75, and I think they came out with a little sister now too, which is actually smaller than the 75. Kind of a pretty cool amplifier. You can also use it as a Bluetooth music player, for MP3s or whatnot, from your cell phone, Android, or Apple device. Now, when these first came out, they were only Apple devices. Now they finally came out with an app for Android, which makes it pretty cool because I can link my phone up to it, or another different type of an Android tablet, and be able to play music or even use the AMPLIFi app with this thing now. So you can control your amplifier, settings and stuff like that, gain and bass, mid, treble, whatever, as far as playing with the music or just playing guitar in general. Now the cool thing about this is the way that it's designed. Now a lot of these amplifiers that are modeling amplifiers only have one speaker on them. You have a 10-inch or 12-inch or an 8-inch driver, and that's it. This thing here has two-way speakers up in each corner. It's I want to say it's like a 3.5, maybe a 4-inch mid-bass driver with a like a 1-inch dome tweeter, and they're up in each corner on this thing, and they're also angled, so it gives you a fuller sound. It's kind of directional as far as the speakers go. In the center of this thing is a Celestion 80-watt 12-inch driver, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you use this thing as a music player, it does have a punch. It does have some volume to it. It is loud, but when you max out the volume on this thing, it does get distorted. So you kind of want to turn it down a few notches, and it sounds pretty good. And also, this is not going to give you the low frequencies like a subwoofer would. So you're not going to have the hum, the real low frequencies. You could play any style of music on this thing, but again, this is not going to have the low frequency like a subwoofer would have. Anyways, this I bought to use with practicing music, guitar use, not for a MP3 streamer. But again, it can do it. Now, what you're looking at on top of it is, I finally got it set up. I have an Apple iPad 4 sitting on top of this thing. Now, I was using an Apple iPad 2, and there's been a lot of problems. So right now I want to see if those problems still exist. We're using a different iPad, something a little bit newer. When I first got this thing 3 years ago, I bought a tablet for it, which was the Apple iPad 2, and it worked great up until Line 6 started doing, or not Line 6, but Apple started doing their iOS's updates, and Line 6 wasn't doing too many firmware updates. Now, they have came out with quite a few firmware updates for the Line 6 AMPLIFi, but in time, Apple was coming out with a lot more, and these kind of drew a little bit further apart. Having problems with connectivity as far as the Bluetooth goes and staying connected. I went to Line 6's forums and found that there was a lot of people that were having a lot of problems, basically the same thing, disconnection, not being able to stream music, not being able to play with their music, even just going through settings as far as using it as a regular amplifier. There was a problem where it would disconnect itself. So came up with a little bit of a theory. Okay, well, maybe the tablet that I'm using is too old, out of date. It's not working correctly, and that would make a lot of sense. So I picked up a iPad 4. I also picked up a second iPad 4 because I got tired of arguing with my daughter. Basically, can I have my tablet back so I can use my amplifier? And so I picked up a second one. I also still have the Apple iPad 2. So, yeah, they all look alike besides the white one. That's the reason why I ended up keeping the white one for the AMPLIFi, is because I can tell the difference between the one my daughter has and the one that I have. Mine's white, hers has the black ring around it. So, get these out of the way. The Apple iPad 2 served its purpose. It worked pretty good. I also noticed it with some of the games that were downloaded to it that my daughter downloaded to them. They weren't working very well either. So now the Apple iPad 4, I believe, has like a dual core processor or something like that inside of it, which makes it a little bit better. But all of them are all 16 gigs as far as memory goes. So they're all the same as far as that. Now, this is going to be like the first test rundown as far as seeing how this works. I have not used this Apple 4 iPad on this yet. I just finally got everything on it and got the app on it. So let's see what's going to happen here. Now it's pretty cool as far as how this works. Without the tablet, these amplifiers really don't have much to offer. Basically, you just have a drive, a bass, mid, treble, FX, reverb, and volume control. That's it. There is a tone bank on here, so if you could set this up to where you have four different channels on there, and it'll save them. And as you change, if you look at the Apple iPad, it's also changing itself. So I do have some channels on here that I preset. There is a card, a micro SD card built into this thing. That's basically where it holds all of the memory as far as your settings go and a few other things as well. Now next to that tone button, you have a tap button. Now I'm going to go into the settings and turn that on. Now it says here you have a tap tempo LED. If you turn that on, it's kind of like the VCR light blinking 12 o'clock. Drive you nuts after a while. So I kind of disabled that. Now the first firmware that was on here, you couldn't do that. Now you can. So let me go back to my tones, all right, or edit. All right, so the biggest problem with this thing was disconnecting. Well, so far, when it disconnects, it'll say disconnected device. And so far it has not been doing that. It's been working pretty good, and it's been on here for a few minutes now as I'm making this video. So let's go into a little bit about the actual tablet part of the app. So if I click on amps, so you have high gain amps, and you can kind of like scroll through, and you can kind of see like some of these amps, they look like Marshall amps or oranges, or you go with different types. So you have a clean channel, American, British, and high gain. Done. Goes back to your settings. Now you got stomp. So if I click on the stomp right here, as you can see, there's different types of pedals. Now this one right here, it says Killer Z. If you kind of look at it, if I can get this thing to focus really good on that, let's see if I can get the focus on it. Maybe it will. All right, that kind of looks like a Boss Metal Zone, and that's kind of exactly what it is. You click on it and you hit done. Now let me kind of change the way this looks a little bit, because it's kind of maybe not focusing, a little bit too bright. Maybe it's a little bit better. So you have a drive, you have a gain, contour, mid, and mid frequency that you can adjust with it, and it's all customable. You can change it any way you want. Just slide it over and stuff, and it will remember everything that you've done with it. Now if I go click back over here, oh wait, I have to click amp there. Now as you can see, I made it change, and you can see a little light blinking on there. The reason why you see that blinking is because now I'm not longer in channel A. Channel A I had set up to Metallica, Seek, and Destroy. Now you also have a bank for tones on the tablet, which you can basically download anything you want. Get them from the cloud. You do a search. If I type in, say, rat, you have a bunch of different tones that other people have created, and they give them stars so you can understand if they sound good or not. Now, mind you that your guitar may not be the same guitar that the person who made these tones with, so your tone may not be the same as what you're hearing or what this is supposed to be like. So maybe you would say, okay, well, I don't know why they gave that 4 stars, because it sounds like shit. Well, it could be because you don't have the same guitar that other person had when they set this tone up. So I'll go back to my tones, and then again too, so a lot of these tones are not exact as far as the sound, If you want to sound like Metallica, you need to buy Metallica's rig in order to sound like Metallica. So I'm trying to get this into focus, but it's kind of going on my reflection that's on this thing. Sorry about that. Now, the biggest problem that with this thing was the app as far as playing music, streaming it from your Apple device. Now, the nice thing about this as well is they now have a thing where you have demos. So if I go to demo, and it gives you blues, clean acoustic simulator, clean no amp, country clean, chicken pickin'. Okay, so it's giving you some basically some music and beats that you could play along with, backing tracks. So I've hit play. So that's just a little bit of an example. Now the nice thing about this is that if you click on the volume or levels, as you see here, you have a guitar level which is in white, and you have an overall which is in red. So if I move the guitar level, as you can see, it's changing the level on the amplifier itself. You also can do this by pushing on the button and changing the level as well, and it'll change it on the app as you do this. Now the nice thing about that is if you have playing with a backing track or some type of music, you're able to make sure that the level of the guitar isn't louder than the music, or the music isn't louder than the guitar. Mix it in a little bit better. Now I'm going to go back and I want to go to my music. This is where the problem is. Now so far it's playing this and it's not giving me disconnected on the bottom. Now the music just stopped and it's going into the next track. So let me go to my library, which you have to turn this on your Apple device. Go under the settings. There's a setting to let it share like your music and shit for other apps. So I had to do this with this. So let me go into some Black Sabbath. Who doesn't want to hear any Black Sabbath? Let's play a little Black Sabbath. Now, as you can see, it loaded up something over here. This is basically tones that somebody else has designed or made or whatever. So you have like Children of the Grave, Iron Man, Paranoid, War Pigs. You also can get more, and you can keep hitting more until you find whatever you like. Now, if you can hear like the storm in the background, it's playing the music. You fast forward it. Alright, let me turn that down because maybe it might give me a copyright strike. So if I go back to my music again, try something else. This is something that I've been playing a lot with, and oh, it's still staying connected. It's still playing the music. Maybe that was the problem with this thing. Maybe it was because of an older generation as far as an Apple iPad goes that caused some problems where the Bluetooth wouldn't stay connected and it was giving errors. Cool. And again, it shows you Seek and Destroy, Metallica, Fade to Black. And again, you know, a lot of these tones may not sound exactly like the music that you're playing. Reason being is, you know, the person who created these tones was using probably a different guitar, and those tones sound good for that guitar. But you do have the option to go here and fine-tune those tones if you want to. You also have a tuner on here. Right now I don't have a guitar connected to it, but there also is a tuner. It does work. It's actually pretty accurate. Now a lot of people have bought these units, the AMPLIFi line, and used them as basically just a music player. They do sound pretty good. I gotta hand it to them. It does have a nice, crisp, clean sound. Again, you're not going to get the lows like a subwoofer would give you. and at high volumes, like maxed out, it does distort. But as far as turning this thing up and filling a room as far as decent, clean music, it can do it. It's pretty loud. Again, this is a musical instrument amplifier. And it does get very, very loud as far as using it for guitar goes, but music as well. So that's a little bit of the Line 6 AMPLIFi 150 using it with an Apple iPad 4. Hopefully this helps out other people who are having problems with this thing. So far, what I've came up with this is that the older generations of Apple iPads are not going to work correctly with this thing, as I guess the iOSs start updating themselves or moving up. Now, there is a way to bring the iOS back to the original or a earlier version. You have to download the file to do this and flash it yourself using your computer with it, and it does work, and it worked out pretty good to where it was back to the way it was when I first got both units. But the problem with this is the firmware for the Line 6 amplifier, you're also going to have to bring that back to the original firmware that came with your amplifier in order for the two to work correctly. So there are some setbacks to it, but it can be done to fix this. I would just say, you know what, make the investment, get a newer Apple iPad. It works out, and you don't have to jump through any hoops to get it to work correctly. All right, guys, take care. Have a good one, and catch you all later.